Do you ever get the feeling that a TV show you used to like, or at least never used to dislike, brings back some pretty bad memories? Not that this particular show traumatised me as a kid, but to one, it don't look as good as one remembers it. Earlier this year, myself and a group of filmmaking friends was in this pub slash theatre talking a load of nonsense with film production logics mixed in. Somehow one of my mates brought up rap slash hip hop music being part of his nostalgic memories and even mentions 50 Cent. Consequently, I mentioned that I was sure he sampled a TV theme tune for one of his songs. Of course, some hip-hop artists have a reputation of sampling famous tunes, including theme tunes. Kanye West's Diamonds of Sierra Leone shamelessly contains snippets of Diamonds Are Forever. Busta Rhymes ripped off Knight Rider for one of his songs. I sure hate to think what would happen if Snoop Dogg spat obnoxious lyrics over the Thunderbirds march, or if Missy Elliott attempted a ballad with Charlie's Angels in the background. Those are all glorious theme tunes, except this one which 50 Cent did, or may have done. That's right, folks. The show I refer to is Thomas the Tank Engine, or Thomas and Friends if you like. For those of you who don't know, Thomas and Friends is what I personally regard as one of the most overrated shows in TV history. Yeah, I know, I'm going to receive quite a bit of mouthful for this review, but hear me out as I explain my reasons bit by bit. Some people will know that Thomas and Friends dates back to the mid-1940s, around the time when World War II ended, when a vicar named Wilbert Awdry commenced his first novel, being part of what is known as the Railway series. And in case you're wondering, Thomas didn't even appear until the second book, which was titled Thomas the Tank Engine. The first one is actually called The Three Railway Engines. My questioning on the essence of the titular character will of course come into context later. Right now though, I shall be analysing each element of the show one by one. Cinematography first. Firstly, I give huge credit for its use of low-angle shots. I think they're very distinctive, and true that it's obvious that they had to be used sometimes, especially considering that the set was made from what appears to be a model train set, and filmmakers would have to create closer looks with the trains sometimes, plus there are the human characters to think about. But do they really have to film extreme close-ups of their faces? Gee, that's creepy. My next point relates to the character designs. It's good that the locomotive characters come in different shapes and colours. If that wasn't the case, the show would be much less interesting. After all, you didn't expect Mallards to look like the Flying Scotsman, did you? What I mean is that apart from steam locomotives, the show experimented with diesel trains and narrow gauge railways. However, the production team could have made an effort with designing the characters' faces. I know there's a female diesel rail car. What's her name? Diana, Rosie, and she has makeup to add to her femininity. But you could have added more detail to the other characters, like for instance, you could have given James a pair of nerd glasses, or even decorated Percy's nose with blackheads. Or you could have had Gordon grow a moustache. Actually, that's not quite what I had in mind. But anyway, look at the efforts that was made on Budgie's little helicopter, and even to a lesser extent, cars. Now, some of you will be surprised to hear the director David Mitton is in fact a Jerry Anderson veteran. Yes, he was a special effects technician for shows such as Thunderbirds, Captain Scarlet and Mr. Ons, Joe 90, Secret Service and UFO. Gee, I dread to think if such great shows as them were heard in the same sentence as Thomas and Friends. I bring this up because you'd think that David would have learnt from his former boss. I mean, whenever the characters speak, their mouths don't even move. True that when Jerry's shows began, they didn't have CGI, but Jerry always made an effort to make his characters' lips move whenever they spoke. I mean, it's kind of creepy when characters speak but their lips don't move. I mean, let me demonstrate. Hey Henry, there's something I gotta tell you. We're half brothers, ain't we? Actually, technically, Henry, we're quarter brothers. Now let me demonstrate how I can make their lips move. Watch! You know, you're putting yourself in a lot of danger, Gordon. I am not in danger, James. I am the danger. A train who takes a bunch of cars filled with junk and then gets busted? No, I am the one who honks. See? Easy as that. And as for the human characters, they don't even move a muscle. It's like seeing one of those creepy coin-operated wooden model reconstruction sets that have stopped working, like the ones you see at Staunton Hall, somewhere in the middle of England. Now it's my awkward duty to mention the characters. I'm going to just say this. Thomas, even though he happens to be the main character, was never my favourite character. Good God, is he such an arrogant jerk. There's an episode where he's being horrible to Henry, the latter who's had some sort of illness, and he cares only about arriving at a certain place on time. In another episode, he brags about his own paintwork and acts like a hypocrite about it with Percy. Some fine role model he is. And come to think of it, this young lad's named Rob on YouTube did always describe him as an arsehole, and quite frankly I can't really blame him. And this is especially the case with earlier seasons. I know to have the main characters behave like jerks, i.e. in Breaking Bad, and the young ones makes up for good storytelling sometimes, but this is Thomas and Friends we're talking about, and the idea is that children are supposed to learn from him. And to tell you the truth, I don't know what children are getting from this character. Despite the title, the show didn't even feature the titular character in like every single episode. Fans and not so fans, myself included as the latter, will be familiar with other characters, i.e. Gordon, James and Percy, possibly Henry, who knows. Unfortunately, there are way too many characters to familiarise ourselves with. The Simpsons may have included a large cast of characters, but at least Matt Groening made an effort to ensure the main characters got some screen time in each episode, and at least the more minor characters had personality and are more memorable. So many characters in Thomas and Friends have been introduced to the show that I can't even keep up, and a lot of them lack much personality within them. Actually, I'd much rather Britt Allcroft had Percy as the main character. He has a better personality than Thomas. He's had more memorable storylines. Why not call the show Percy the Tank Engine or Percy and Friends? Or how about Henry? Again, who has a decent personality compared to Thomas and better storylines as well. And call it Henry the Tender Engine. Or better still, just call it the Railway Series. As for some of the other characters, I think it's about time Britt, whoever is in charge of the production right now, killed some of the characters off. The producers can't cram them all in the show forever, for crying out loud. Oh, and here's the elephant in the room. Thomas and Friends is what many people remember Ringo Starr for, aside from being in the Beatles. I ain't even kidding. They remember him from narrating this show more than his solo music efforts and possibly his appearance in that good old Simpsons episode. Ringo may be an underrated musician, but every time I hear his voice, no disrespect to him or the other narrators, he does sound like he's reading from one of the books for each episode. I know the show is based on a series of books, but do you have to make it that obvious? Even the character voices sound the same. Ringo and them other lot could have given each character a different voice. In fact, I would much rather the characters talked by themselves rather than have the narrator say, Thomas did this, James did that. Go screw yourselves, exclaimed Percy, etc. And because Ringo's also a musician, I'd have thought that the producers would allow him to at least make a few fixtures to the music. Good God, is the soundtrack annoying, especially the theme tune. I'm sorry, but I just don't like the theme tune. It's just so repetitive and does nothing but go around my head and bring back some bad memories. In fact, sometimes it sounds like it's really farting out the sounds of the music, if you know what I mean. Well, maybe not all the segments are bad, but if Ringo had that chance, the music would have been improved. Of course, he only stayed for the first 2 seasons, and then that guy from the George and Mildred movie took over. Yep, I refer to Michael Angelis, the now, unfortunately, late Michael Angelis. It amazes me how this show has appealed to so many generations over the years. They call Gerry Anderson's puppet shows dated, and yet they don't think the same about a TV show which is obviously modelled from a train set without a single lip movement. The production team spends time on the characters' facial expressions and manages to get their eyes moving, but not their mouths? They did make a movie, Thomas and the Magic Railroad, and it was good that they replaced the wooden human characters with live actors. Unfortunately, though, the writing and dialogue was still a letdown. One reason being is that Alec Baldwin tries to involve the viewers in the story way too much, and it's really distracting. I also question the cheap special effects the producers used, and I would have thought with a bigger budget they'd at least make an effort with the lip movements. Yeah, again, I'm bitching about those facts. But yeah, please learn from Gerry Anderson, a proper expert. To be honest, I somehow bet that the only reason why there's still a wide obsession with Thomas and Friends is because of the merchandise it's sold over the years. I've seen kids with backpacks with the titular character on it, clothes and so forth. I make no secret that I find Thomas and Friends an overrated show, not just when talking about children's TV, but TV in general, and that I've hated it for the last couple of decades, successfully dodging it. I actually hate it a little bit less by a small percentage compared to earlier in my life. The show did have some great moments, I'll admit, and there are some shows I'd take it any day over, like SpongeBob SquarePants, Powerpuff Girls. Can't name any more right now. But at the same time, I can think of better shows that I can introduce to my kids, like Simpsons, Thunderbirds, Wallace and Gromit. Thomas and Friends is not one of those shows which I plan to ever show to my kids. Not even if the narrator happened to be Roger Taylor, the drummer from Queen that is, or even Brian Ferry. At least not on purpose anyway. If they do end up watching Thomas and Friends, fair enough. Who am I to stop them? I just hope that they won't grow up to have such a jerkish attitudes as Thomas. One final note before I close this post. Of course, as some of us heard, Michael Angelis died just a few months ago of a heart attack. May he rest in peace. We'll have a bit of silence for that. Thank you for watching.